Thank you very much, Chair, for giving us the floor. This is Mariam Mohammad. I am from Lebanon, and I'm a CC member of the CSIPM. I facilitate for the West Asia region on behalf of the Arab Network for Food Sovereignty. For the past few weeks, while language was being discussed and words being changed for the purpose of reaching consensus and compromise, the reality on ground in Palestine was not changing at all. Conflict and agreed language could not change the fact that it is occupation and genocide on the grounds of reality. That what was being committed by the Israeli occupation is the indiscriminate massacre and bombing of hospitals, schools, refugee camps, women, children, and infants and elderly. Conflict areas in agreed language could not change that it is occupied areas on the grounds of reality, including Gaza and the rest of occupied Palestine. While language was and still is being discussed, our people in Palestine are still being ethnically cleansed in the most brutal and horrific forms, as well as starved and thirsted. The CSIPM is engaged now in this reconvened plenary session with motivation rooted in hope. We are glad and hopeful that the CFS51 can formally conclude today, and that the CFS is strengthened through this debate, reinforcing the role of the plenary to provide guidance and actionable recommendations towards achieving a world free from hunger, food insecurity, malnutrition, double standards, and the selective protection of human rights. We were going to advocate for the CFS51 final report to include language that denounces the Israeli occupation's use of food and water as weapons of war against Palestinians, underscores the imperative for reliable, consistent, ample, and unobstructed provision of vital necessities to civilians across the Gaza Strip, including but not limited to food, water, sanitation, medical resources, energy, and access to productive resources, highlights the critical role of FAO, IFAD, WFP, and UNRWA in evaluating and mitigating the conflict's impact on food security and agriculture in occupied Palestine, advocates for an immediate ceasefire, which shall also contribute to facilitating the delivery of essential aid to the population in Gaza, acknowledges that the Israeli occupation's use of starvation tactics against 2.3 million Palestinians is a severe breach of human law, international treaties, and humanitarian law, demands that the Israeli occupation be held accountable and responsible for these crimes against humanity, and requests that the CFS chair to immediately forward these conclusions to the UN Secretary General and relevant UN agencies. There can be no justification for the lethal collective punishment and genocide against Palestinians and any population. For weeks, UN experts have sounded the alarm about the risk of genocide through this war. Genocide is the gravest of crimes under international law, and the CFS has the obligation to urgently work towards preventing this atrocity from further escalation. We believe it would have been very important that the committee had incorporated these points into the final report, pursuant to the provisions in the CFS framework for action for food security and nutrition in protracted crises, and especially in accordance with Principle 1, meet immediate humanitarian needs and build resilient livelihoods. Principle 2, reach affected populations. Principle 4, protect those affected by or at risk from protracted crises. And finally, Principle 9, contribute to peace building through food security and nutrition. We would like to finally stress that all what is being committed in occupied Palestine and the weaponization of food is for the purpose of ethnic cleansing and a new Nakba for Palestinians, which we strongly condemn and refuse. We also cannot understand how we have reached a point where asking for the end of genocide and war has become controversial. To us, in our solid principles and the civil society, this will never be or become the case. Thank you very much for giving me the time.